Hey guys, Veebat here with another V Plays, and I'm back. I was out of the country for a little while. I'm finally back, and I'm able to hop into some more gameplay. And it looks like World of Warplanes has changed just a little bit during my absence. So one of the first things I noticed is when I went to my Services tab here, this entire layout is completely different. Now, some of you may have already experienced this, and most likely you've already gotten a good grasp of it. But it's taken me a little bit to try and understand exactly what was going on here, so I'm going to run through it and let people know exactly what it is that we are looking at on this page. So when it comes to the equipment here, let's go to the cockpit for instance. Underneath the cockpit we can mount on here an option of either cockpit armor or a gun sight. The cockpit armor will increase the resistances for the pilot and the gunner for taking damage. However, it'll be at the sacrifice of yaw maneuverability as well as roll maneuverability, which is not something we really want for any of our aircraft, with the exception of maybe some of the heavier, less maneuverable airframes like your ground attackers or your bombers. So in this particular instance, I want to retain a lot more of the maneuverability of my Focke-Wulf 190A5, and I would prefer to put on a decent sight. But this still comes with a negative attribute, and it's almost the inverse of what you saw with the cockpit armor. With the cockpit armor, you're going to reduce the pilot's chance of injury, while putting on this gun sight will increase the potential for your pilot to take damage, but will increase the accuracy of the offensive forward-firing weapons. Same thing will go for when it comes to the engine upgrades. So we can increase the engine protection, we can give it some more boost with the sacrifice of how much boost time is available. And the general theme we're seeing here is every time you equip one of these modules, there is going to be an associated negative. Now, you can combat or deal with these negatives with the use of consumables. So in this instance, we have an increased chance of engine taking damage. So we put on the pneumatic starter, which will allow us to be able to get that engine back up and running quickly if it gets knocked out. And we also have first aid dressing in order to contend with the possibility of the pilot taking damage from this cockpit upgrade. Now on top of this, we also have the option of throwing on an enhancement. Now, the enhancement comes from getting these materials that are available on the left-hand side. So these materials are gained through battles, and what you're going to get from each one of these battles is determined based on the tier of battle that you're in. So if we take a look at Salvage Party here, 1 through 10, 5 through 10, and then 8 to 10 is going to give you a higher potential chance of being able to get these associated module pieces. Now, the more rare ones, obviously, you're going to need to play a higher tiered battles in, but it's also going to be used on the equipment that's going to be used on those higher tiered aircraft. So you're really going to have to fly the aircraft that you're enjoying in order to be able to get those upgrades and really maximize it. So this has offered another avenue for us to be able to try and optimize our airframe for our particular play style. When it comes to the Focke-Wulf 190, I have opted to throw on the lightweight power unit because I feel like the enhancements in maneuverability are a nice benefit, while the engine resistance to damage is not that much of an issue at this time because I have this pneumatic restarter, so I can kick the engine back on if I need to. Now you notice that there's a bunch of these that are locked that say it requires specialist configuration. Well, let's direct our attention to the right-hand side of the screen where we have these three icons located on the top right of our stats table over here. And there's a stock configuration, which is going to refer to the upgrades of the aircraft being stock. Once I'm able to get this aircraft up to elite status, which involves unlocking just that last engine, which is annotated by modules research required 1, which is at the bottom of this little drop-down list. And once I'm able to get that, I will be able to have the airframe start its track towards specialist. So in order to get specialist, I will need to get Personal points earned by destroying enemy aircraft in victorious battles, excuse me, and then personal points earned for destroying sections of ground targets. This is going to be universal for all of the multi-role fighters. Each class of aircraft is going to have its own particular set of missions it needs to accomplish. Now, this is an interesting note. You see that there's an option off to the right of those statistics at the bottom of the screen saying that I can spend those tokens in order to elite this aircraft or make it a specialist airframe, which would then unlock those segments in the module areas. That way I can fully upgrade the airframe. It gives it a unique identifier on the airframe when you're flying it in battle, where it shows your aircraft's icon with wings on either side of it, letting the rest of the people on the battlefield know that you have specialized that airframe, that you've played it enough to be able to get it to ultra specs, if you would, but you are going to have to pay 600,000 credits in order to do that conversion. So, just to give you an idea of what we're looking at here, this airframe can have an additional slot allotted for forward gun armament. I can also get an airframe modification for the aircraft under the equipment section, and then we can also get a consumable under the airframe section, as well as a second engine consumable. So you can actually get up to 4 consumables running on a single airframe at one time, which is a nice advantage to be able to utilize. Now, this is just for this particular airframe. If we take a look at the F-84B, you'll note that the F-84B allows us to be able to get bonuses to the outboard weapon stations as well. There's several different modifications, but it is going to either be increased accuracy for the bombs or the rockets, similar to the modules that we've seen in the past, or there is a new armament modification here which will allow you to be able to decrease the reload time of the outboard munitions, which is a nice benefit to have, especially with an aircraft that relies heavily on its air-to-ground capability as a multi-role fighter. There is also another consumable slot here which will allow us to be able to put on an ammo box, which will increase the potential damage of the bombs and rockets, as well as another airframe upgrade. So there is a multitude of different avenues you can take with each one of these airframes depending on what's available and what's locked on its statistics tree, which will give you an idea of what type of benefits you can start working towards on those particular airframes. So, with that said, let's get into a battle with an aircraft that has some upgraded modules on it and see how it plays out for us. Alright, here we are in our A-26B, one of my favorite airframes. I really enjoy this bomber due to the fact that it has fixed forward firing guns, as well as a decent bomb load and spectacular tail gunner capabilities. Now, you can see on the bottom left-hand side of the screen the modules I have equipped, as well as to the right of that diagram, it's going to show my consumables as well as the 2 blue icons. Now the TNT at the bottom indicates that I have a module on here or a consumable that will increase the amount of damage caused by my air-to-ground munitions. In addition to that, we are also going to find that I have a fuel barrel on here which will increase the engine output of my airframe, which will allow me to be able to go in and do some pretty aggressive attack maneuvers with my bombs and cause a significant amount of damage. I like to fly this aircraft relatively aggressively. We're going to come in here for a bombing run on these targets. One of the things you need to do in this airframe in order to get specialist is to kill aircraft using your tail gunners. So here we are taking advantage of the strong capability of the tail gunner on this airframe and putting some serious damage on our adversary, as well as you can see that the reload time on my guns is very short, and that is a result of the consumable or the module that allows us to be able to decrease the reload time on this airframe. There we go. We've taken the battle. We're taking this sector, and we're going to move on towards the mining facility. Now, there is a heavy aircraft that looks like it might be coming in on us. We're going to do our best to be able to put some serious damage on the aircraft. It is flown by a player. I'm hoping I'm going to be able to put some distance between me and him. I actually am outrunning him, and we managed to take him out with our rear gunner. The other thing we need to do with this airframe is capture zones. Doing things to cause damage and get capture points is another avenue in order for us to try and get specialist on this airframe. So I am doing my darndest to get some of those ground attack points going, as well as killing aircraft with my tail gunner. I really do like this aircraft. The historical significance of what this airframe was, kind of a nighttime, low altitude bomber, very strategic, and it had a multitude of different configurations of the guns in the nose if you ever watched my A26B video. Oh, so they have just taken this facility, which is fine. We're going to use this time to loiter, wait for the timer to go down on this site, which is going to be over in about 15. Should be enough time for us to vector in. That tornado ahead of us, that is an enemy player who has gotten the specialization unlocked on his airframe. Take this opportunity to put some damage into his aircraft. He is taking some serious damage here. If we keep him in the center of the reticle, you'll see that the circle actually turns, gets like an inner ring, which increases the amount of damage that we're causing to that aircraft. Now I'm going to come in and go for a bombing run. That is a player on our tail. We're going to do our best to cause some damage to him. If we can get the guns on target, this will actually reduce the amount of damage he's causing to us. And we are causing some serious pain to him. We might be able to take him out here, which is going to contribute towards the capture points. There is a player up above us, but we don't want to get too high because then we'll come under fire from the AAA pieces in this zone. We should be able to take it with this site. Let's drop all of our bombs here. There we go. Site is taken. Let's find another zone for us to go after. Now we are going to have some aircraft coming in here for vengeance. There's a player, several players around us. Let's go ahead and hop into the tail gun. We're probably not going to survive this engagement, but maybe we can cause him some damage. Looks like he caused a little bit more to us. The Tornado has 4 20mm Hispano cannons, as well as an assortment of 6 rockets, it looks like. So we're going to have to figure out a way to bring some vengeance back onto him. In the meantime, we're going to spawn in the center point. We're going to start heading towards this site right here. Oh, there's another A26B, but you've got nothing on me. My tail gunner is very strong. We have very good range on this aircraft, whether it's tail gunner. In fact, that's one of the modules we have equipped on this aircraft, is to give it increased range when you're manually controlling the rear turrets. Hope my ally over here doesn't get destroyed by the AA that's inbound. This should be enough. Release the rest of the bomb load, and let's head in towards the middle here. See what we can do to try and take this airfield. With a 60-second boost and the increased speed and horsepower from the fuel, it allows us to be able to manipulate the battlefield quite readily. Bombs will be back up in a second. let's make a run down this left portion of the airstrip here.
There's a heavy storm here.
So a lot of aircraft here.
Returning to base. Do you copy? I'm proud of
Whew,
you, pilot.
we almost got taken out there. We caused a decent amount of damage. We managed to get about 1100 when it came to the point score. Let's head on back to the hangar and see what it is we actually gained. Here we are at the hangar with the end game results screen. We can see as we cleared the battlefield, since this was a win, we were able to get a bit of salvage, a multitude of different components across the board varying in grade. Granted, this was only a tier 6 aircraft, so we were limited on what we could achieve. We also were able to get 15% done on our specialist configuration. A lot of that is due to the aircraft we killed with our tail gunner, and as I also mentioned, getting capture points in a victorious battle. Now, if we wanted to, we could skip ahead and spend 60 tokens in order for us to maximize the airframe, but then we'd also have to spend 600,000 credits on actually making this a specialized airframe. Once we do get that specialist, we are going to have the option of putting on a cockpit modification, which could possibly be an increased set of accuracy or the armor to the pilot himself. And then there's also another option here for another turret upgrade. This turret upgrade will be the option to give the turrets universal ammunition, which will increase the chance for critical damage from those guns. So there is a definite benefit to getting specialist when it comes to a lot of these airframes with a multitude of different bonuses that they offer. One bonus I do like to see here is that on my F2G Super Corsair, one of my favorite airframes, is that this aircraft will give us a bonus to the outboard weapons stations, allowing us to again either increase the accuracy of the munitions or give it a decrease to the reload time, which will give us a strong benefit for making this more of an air-to-ground type of an attacker, and an added option of being able to get that TNT modification like you see right here, which is going to increase the damage caused by bombs and rockets. So a definite advantage here for this airframe, as well as another airframe modification if we so choose, in order to make this a little bit more competitive. We can put on reinforced skin if we wanted to, reinforced airframe at the sacrifice of maneuverability or aircraft polish. I think I would most likely go for the reinforced skin, but I am still going through a lot of different trials of a lot of this equipment to see how it plays out now that there's more options and different combinations for us to utilize. I'm sure some people may have already worked it out, but for me, I enjoy the trial and error and trying to figure out what works best for me. So as always, guys, if you liked what you saw, like, favorite, comment, subscribe, let me know what you think, what you liked and what you didn't like, and I'll catch you guys in the next one as I try and get back into the swing of things of kicking out these videos for you all.